4 months after a woman died while visiting an inmate at Mule Creek State Prison. We've learned her death is now deemed a homicide.
The Amador County coroner tells KCRA 3 investigates she was strangled. Investigative reporter Lizzie Mechery is here with what she has uncovered. Lizzie.
Curtis, we've been following this story for several months, waiting to hear from the coroner, all after learning 62-year-old Stephanie Dowles from the Los Angeles area died at Mule Creek State Prison in Ione on November 13th at about 2 in the morning. Her family tells us she was visiting her husband, 54-year-old David Brinson. He's been in prison since 1994, and he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. But he was allowed family visits. It was during one of those visits that Dowles died.
David Brinson is an inmate at Mule Creek State Prison who's serving 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. He was convicted back in 1993 for unaliving 4 people during a robbery. Apparently, this prison allows conjugal visits for inmates who demonstrate good behavior over a long period of time and meet other specific program requirements. Now, many can't imagine how someone with a history like David's would even qualify for something like this, but he did. So he was granted a conjugal visit with his wife, 62-year-old Stephanie Dowles. Conjugal visits take place in private apartment-like facilities on the prison grounds. The inmates and their significant others are allowed to stay together for around 30 to 40 hours to give the couples time to be intimate. Now, back on November 13th of 2024, while Stephanie and David were midway through a conjugal visit, David called out for the prison staff and told them that Stephanie had passed out. Apparently, in the apartment-style rooms or facilities that they're able to use for these conjugal visits, they have house phones. So he used the house phone to tell them that his wife had just passed out and seemingly had no idea what happened. The staff attempted to perform life-saving measures, but they were unable to save her. No one was in the visit space when she passed out except for David and Stephanie, but authorities still didn't jump to conclusions. After a 4-month investigation, her official cause of death has finally been released. On last Tuesday, Stephanie's family was notified that her cause of death has been ruled a homicide by strangulation. Charges have not yet been filed because the district attorney was waiting on the complete autopsy report. But now that the report has been released, the DA's office expects to file charges against David for murder. It's unclear how long Stephanie and David were married, but her family said that she was trying to help him become a better person. She would have Bible study with him and encourage him to get an education while in prison. He had even started taking some classes after her encouragement. Stephanie definitely must have thought that David would never hurt her when she agreed to stay overnight with him. But her family is now demanding answers as to why David or someone like David was allowed to be unsupervised in the first place with a past such as his. So this story is far from over. I'll keep you posted if and hopefully when there's a change in this case.
We spoke with the victim's family, and they're demanding answers. They want to know why an inmate with such a violent history like this was allowed to have unsupervised visits in the first place.
62-year-old Stephanie Dowles was always trying to help others, her mother, Ovita Wilson, says.
I would often tell my sweetheart, you can't save the world.
Dowles was a mother herself to 2 sons, grandmother to 6. She was a hairstylist and a small business owner in the Los Angeles area, known to her family as Stevie.
Given the history that this guy has already, we kind of just, wanted to know how is it even, possible for them to be unsupervised.
The CDCR website shows inmates blocked from those privileges are limited to those on death row, those convicted of sex offenses, those going through the reception process upon arrival to a prison, or anyone under disciplinary restrictions. There's no mention of multiple murder convictions.
Do you think that policy should change moving forward?
It has to. There has to be something has to be done because it's not fair.